Hey, welcome to Digging into the Bible. My name is Jim Barnard. This is a production of Tiller Coaching. All right, it's day 15. Thank you for joining me. We are starting Romans chapter 7 today, and we are very much continuing on with Paul knocking out these objections as he talks about living under the law versus living under grace and how we are free from the law. And today's topic is, how did we gain our freedom from the law? So with that as the backdrop, let's try to make it to 5 minutes. Let's go ahead and dig in. This is Romans chapter 7, starting at verse 1. Or do you not know, brothers, for I am speaking to those who know the law, that the law is binding on a person only as long as he lives. For a married woman is bound by law to her husband while he lives. But if her husband dies, she is released from the law of marriage. Accordingly, she will be called an adulteress if she lives with another man while her husband is alive. But if her husband dies, she is free from that law. And if she marries another man, she is not an adulteress. Likewise, my brothers, you also have died to the law through the body of Christ, so that you may belong to another. To him who has been raised from the dead, in order that we may bear fruit for God. For while we were living in the flesh, our sinful passions, aroused by the law, were at work in our members to bear fruit for death. But now we are released from the law, having died to that which held us captive, so that we serve in the new way of the Spirit and not in the old way of the written code. All right, so Paul gets us kicked off here in the right way. Verse 1 says, the law is binding on a person only as long as he lives. And that is so true. When I die, I'm not going to be concerned about jaywalking or speeding or any other governmental law. Just not going to be my concern at all. Death will free me from that. I don't care what country or what your experience is with laws. It's just not going to matter anymore. How about physical laws? You know, in my body, I have weight and mass and volume, and therefore I have to follow the physical law of gravity. I'm just absolutely bound by it. I don't have a choice. I'm absolutely restricted by this law. But when I die, man, like I'm going to go into the ground. I'm going to start decomposing. I know that's gross, but all that's going to be left is my soul. That is what's eternal. And my soul doesn't have a volume, doesn't have a mass, doesn't have weight. It's going to be free from that physical law. So death is what gives us freedom from law. Now, how about spiritual law? Let's talk about where he goes to. This analogy, I think, is so good. In verse 2, it says, for a married woman is bound by law to her husband while he lives. Isn't that interesting? So spiritual law is relational law. It is absolutely relational. And so obviously, if she dies in this analogy, she will be free from the law of marriage. But it's not just her death, like, you know, the governmental law and like the physical law. It's also her husband's death that will free her from the law of marriage. And, you know, I know that's dark or whatever, but, you know, at that point, she is free to marry a new man. And, you know, that's a really good thing. There's a freedom there. That freedom comes with death. Okay? So there's a great illustration here between this spiritual law and the spiritual law of the law. Check out verse 4. Likewise, my brothers, you also have died to the law through the body of Christ, so that you may belong to another. It is Christ's death that gives us our freedom from this spiritual law, this relational law. It had to come with death because that's how the laws work. But this spiritual and relational law gives us our freedom from the law so that we can choose another. And what we're choosing is the grace of Jesus. That's what we're choosing. We aren't burdened by the law. It doesn't mean we don't follow it or don't care about it, but we don't have to look backwards and be stuck by it. We can look forward and enjoy this new relationship. I mean, this new thing, and it's so good. And I hope you experience that. I hope that all of this makes sense. I like this last little bit. We serve in the new way of the Spirit and not in the old way of the written code. Man, I want to live every day that way, and I hope you do too. All right, it's 5 minutes. I got to stop. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I will see you tomorrow as we continue on with Romans chapter 7. I'll see you then.